and welcome back to Voyage of a Time Wanderer. Today I am here to do my first Friday reads of 2025. So it is the new year and I am full of excitement to dive into some new books in 2025. And since this is the first weekend in the new year, I thought it would be fun to do a Friday reads and share some of the books that I'm picking up as my first reads of the new year. I'm trying to kind of stack January with predictable favorites, books that I think I'm going to really enjoy, or rereads of old favorites, so that I really get this reading year started off on the right foot. I didn't have as much vacation as I had planned to over the Christmas holidays because I started a new job, and so I didn't have quite as much reading time as I typically do kind of in that week between Christmas and New Year's, but I was able to finish off a few of the books that had kind of been languishing on my 2024 TBR, so I am excited to hopefully be sharing my 2024 favorites in a video soon. But finishing off those books meant that I had a clean slate to start some new books in 2025, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying what I'm reading so far, and I feel like I'm finally emerging from that nearly year-long reading slump. I'm filming this on the afternoon of the 2nd, and I've already finished 2 books this year, which is fantastic, and I'm really excited about what I am reading going into this weekend. So the audiobook that I have on the go right now is All Things Bright and Beautiful by James Herriot. I started this yesterday afternoon as kind of my lazy New Year's afternoon read, and I'm already 18% of the way through on my audiobook on Libby, and I am really enjoying it. I don't know why it took me so long to pick up the second book in the series. I double checked on Goodreads and I read the first book back in May 2022, so it's been almost 3 years since I read the first book. And at the time I was like, I loved it, I couldn't wait to continue on with the series, and then there was kind of some confusion between which editions I could access on Libby, and there was a really long hold list because the new miniseries was just coming out, and so everyone was wanting to read James Herriot. And so for whatever reason, I haven't got around to picking up the next book in the series. I feel like also every time my hold would come in on Libby, I have all the rest of the series on hold, and I would forget which title was the second, because I don't remember the lines of the poem. I'm like, is it All Things Wise and Wonderful? Is it All Things Bright and Beautiful? Is it All Creatures Great and Small? Which is the next book that I need to pick up? And so I'm just now getting to book 2, and like I said, I listen to almost 20% in a day. It's just such wonderful writing. It's really funny. It's got obviously wonderful descriptions of nature and animals and kind of heartwarming animal stories. It's a little bit cozy because we have some kind of English countryside domesticity, but there's also lots of real farm life depicted as well. So I'm really enjoying that on audio, and hopefully it won't take me 3 years to pick up the 3rd book in the series. I did have to switch narrators, I think I listened to the Timothy West narration of the first book, and this is the Nicholas Ralph version of the 2nd book. But because it has been so long, I don't really remember the difference. So usually I don't like switching narrators halfway through the series, but because this is what my Libby had, this is what I'm listening to. They're kind of longer audiobooks. I think this one was almost 13, 14 hours. So this is probably going to be the audiobook that I have on the go for the next week or so. I really wanted to start off my year with some strong nonfiction, and I think this was the perfect choice. The other book that I already started last night is Works of Mercy by Sally Thomas. This is a buddy read with my friend over on Bookstagram, Elisabeth Brink. She's doing a Catholic novel project for 2025, and I'm joining in with some of the titles that she's selected as buddy reads. And I'm really excited to be starting the year off with a buddy read. It's always a fun way to read books, especially books that kind of have some deeper messages to be able to discuss. So again, this is one I just started yesterday as one of my New Year reads, and I'm almost through chapter 1, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's so good to be reading books that I really enjoy and that I think could be favorites. When we get into my 2024 reading reflections and favorites, you'll see that not only was I in kind of a slumpy reading year last year, but I also didn't have very many 5-star reads, and I didn't have very many potential favorites. So to be starting off the year, and I know I'm only part of the way through chapter 1, but it's really good so far. I'm like, this could be a favorite. And I feel like I was kind of starved for that feeling of loving a book last year. And so I'm really excited to be enjoying this book so much. This book is about an older widowed woman. I think she's probably in her late 60s, early 70s when the book is set. And she's originally from the Shetland Islands in Scotland, and so I'm enjoying, there's a couple references already that I'm like, oh, I remember hearing about that place or that festival in some of the Anne Cleeve's Shetland Mysteries, which are obviously a very different type of book, but I'm enjoying having those little connections. And then it looks like she got married and followed her husband to North Carolina and has been living in North Carolina for most of her adult life. And she is, like I said, widowed and volunteering to clean the rectory and the parish church. And so that is kind of where the story is going to unfold, I think, as she is involved in the day-to-day life of the newly arrived parish priest and kind of the families that make up the parish community. Already in the first kind of few pages that I have read, it feels very much like it's in the tradition of like Jan Karen's Mitford books or Miss Reed's Fairacre books. And so I think it's definitely going to be kind of a slower paced novel, but one with lots of beautiful passages to mull over and really rich writing. Then I am very excited to be starting a reread of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. My sister got me this absolutely gorgeous letters edition of Pride and Prejudice for Christmas, and I had already kind of been thinking, having that like urge to reread Pride and Prejudice. It's been a while since I reread it, and so even before I had received this in December, I was like, maybe I should reread Pride and Prejudice in January. And then I got this edition and I was like, yes, absolutely, I need to reread this as soon as possible. This is the letters edition, and so it's got kind of like interleafed throughout these velour pockets that contain letters that are referenced in the text of the book, and they are really works of art. I'll unfold one of them in a second, but looking through kind of the credits at the back, they did get, I think, 4 or 5 different calligraphers and artists to do the different people's writing, so each letter looks like it's written in a different hand because they had all these different people writing out the letters, and they have lots of notes in the back that are really meticulous on, you know, why they made the postmark the way they did, or what the cost of the postage would have been and why it's different between this letter and that letter. And they're all folded up beautifully. It really feels like you are reading little artifacts from Pride and Prejudice. And so this is obviously one of my favorite books of all time. I don't think I would ever get tired of rereading it. Let me find one of the letters to unfold. So this is an example of what one of the letters looks like, and then they're all folded up, and when you unfold it, it looks very much like a real letter from one of the characters, which is just so cool. This is another one of the letters, so it has like the little postage stamp. There's like maybe the remnants of a wax seal. They've kind of aged the paper and put like little stains and stuff. So I think it's going to bring Pride and Prejudice to life in a whole new way. And I can't wait to have this unique reading experience with one of my all-time favorite books. And then speaking of kind of trying to front load favorites into January, I'm waiting for my hold to come in on Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mandel. She's one of my favorite authors, and this is one of the 2 remaining books of hers that I haven't read yet. So I haven't yet read Last Night in Montreal or the Lola Quartet. I kind of tried to pace myself with reading her books. I didn't want to rush through her entire back catalog, so I've been kind of doling them out one at a time. And I thought it was finally time to read Last Night in Montreal. I don't know if it's set during winter, but Montreal obviously feels like kind of a wintry city for me. I visited it once when I was living out east, and I visited it kind of towards the end of fall. So it definitely feels like kind of a colder city in my mind, which felt very appropriate for January. I don't know a ton about it. I'm kind of going in blind because Emily St. John Mandel is one of my favorite authors. I really like the way a lot of her books, and I'm assuming this one probably will as well, kind of travel back and forth in time throughout the narrative, and so you're never really sure exactly where the story is going to coalesce until the very end. And it sounds like from what the little Goodreads blurb is, we're following a young woman called Delia, and she has been leaving people behind for her entire life. It sounds like she moved around a lot as a child, and it seems there is a private detective who has been following her for most of her adult life, and so she changes cities quite frequently. kind of abandoning boyfriends in her wake and changing her whole identity when she arrives in a new city. And it sounds like the last boyfriend she left follows her to Montreal to try to uncover more of her story, and so we are following her, her boyfriend, and this private detective, and maybe a few other characters, kind of trying to unravel the secrets of her childhood and why she is so determined to continually reinvent herself. Emily St. John Mandel is a pretty reliable author for me now, and so I'm really hopeful that this is going to probably be like a 4 or 5 star read like her other books have been. Like I said, I'm waiting for my hold to come in on that on Libby, and so as soon as that comes in, I will start it, hopefully sometime this weekend. I think I was at the top of the hold list. I'm just waiting for whoever is reading it right now to return it. And then my 2 faith-related reads at the moment. This is going to be my long-term kind of Catholic reading project for the year. This is The Secret Diary of Elisabeth Leseur. I find that religious diaries I can't read like cover to cover because they're basically plotless and just reflections and meditations and prayers, so it's not something that I can like rip through. So I'm going to be taking this. I read the Diary of St. Faustina last year, and I'm going to be reading this kind of over the course of the year, as long as it takes me, reading a page or 2 a day, and taking time to really reflect on the readings rather than reading through it cover to cover as if it was a novel. Elisabeth Leseur is not yet a saint. She has a cause for sainthood opened for her, and she was married to a man that she loved very much who was an atheist kind of at the turn of the century in France, and she kept this diary as her secret diary of her kind of thoughts and reflections on different topics related to her faith. And he remained staunchly an atheist through her whole life, despite her continually praying for his conversion. And then after she passed away at a fairly young age of, I think, breast cancer, he found her diary, read it, and had a conversion experience of his own, and eventually entered the priesthood and was a priest for the rest of his life. So obviously her writing was very powerful for him, and I've heard really good things about this diary. And so I'm looking forward to having that as kind of a long-term reading project through the year. I did start it yesterday, and the very first part is just kind of a chronology of her life story, and then a kind of introduction by him to her diary. So I haven't got to her part of the diary yet, and I'm looking forward to having this as a reading companion through the entire year. And then the other faith-related read that I am hoping to start this weekend is The Merry Pages, An Atheist's Journey to the Mother of God by Sally Reed. I read Sally Reed's conversion story, Night's Bright Darkness, back in 2023, and I absolutely adored it. I read it in like 2 days. It was so well written. She's a poet, and so her writing, even when she's writing kind of in a memoir style, is very poetic and beautiful. And so this book, The Merry Pages, was just released this past fall. It sounds like this book includes aspects of her conversion story, but is really focusing more on her relationship with Mary throughout her life. It says that even though she was raised in an atheist household, she nevertheless saw images of the Blessed Virgin Mary from earliest childhood, and they remained with her in the most remarkable ways. As soon as I found out that she had written another memoir, I knew that I wanted to read it soon, and so I'm looking forward to starting that this weekend as well. So those are the books that I have on the go at the moment and that I am planning to start in the next couple of days. I'm really excited about all of my reading this new year, and I'm hoping it's going to be a great year full of books that become new favorites, and that I'm able to make videos a bit more consistently than I did last year. I hope you're starting off the new year with some wonderful reading, and until next time, enjoy wandering through the pages of a good book. Bye.